Unbelieving societies, after having lost faith in life after death, sooner or later fall into despair and suicide, even if their desired pretension is to make the most of life, because after enjoyment always comes physical and spiritual suffering, which were previously considered bearable penances in comparison with eternal happiness. But now, having lost faith in this happiness, suffering suddenly becomes unbearable and meaningless and must be erased through our physical extinction. The more painless and rapid, the better. Incredulous societies do not know how to face death with serene naturalness, therefore, they successively flatter and depress people. When they are healthy, science and progress inspire them with euphoric and vain ideas, making them believe that they are demigods. When they are sick and hopeless, that is, when science and progress prove insufficient or useless, they are told that they are worth less than a worm. In religious societies, exactly the opposite happens. Healthy people are said to be made of clay. Sick people remember that their bodies of clay will be the seed of resurrection. In unbelieving societies, the demigods flee from death like headless chickens, resorting to gymnastics, cosmetics, and surgeries to pathetically ward off the ghost of decrepitude. And when this spectre finally makes itself present, the demigods metamorphose into worms and beg for death. In religious societies, no one asks for death, but everyone waits for it serenely, accepting aging and pain, because they know that the worst evils are nothing when compared to the eternal happiness that is promised to them. In religious societies, there is a community that watches over the sick and helps them face their illnesses, praying for them and with them, comforting them, anticipating bliss at their side. In unbelieving societies, to prove that we are demigods, we free ourselves from the community and enjoy full autonomy. And when suffering becomes something unbearable that threatens this proud autonomy, we demand that science and progress free us from all diseases. But it turns out that science and progress prove incapable of dealing with many diseases. They offer us the opportunity to take away our suffering, also taking our lives. Those who don't have a dog hunt with a cat. In unbelieving societies, compassion requires the elimination of suffering through the death of the patient, unlike what happens in religious societies, where compassion requires that the patient's suffering be accompanied until death, so that he can be accompanied until the threshold of bliss, where you will be fully rewarded, so fully that this redemption includes not only our afflicted soul, but also the clay from which we were molded, even our decrepit flesh, which will soon turn to dust, and which also suffers 1,000 deprivations in life. In religious societies, death is faced with an eye toward the bliss not only of the soul, but also of the flesh. God comes to us through the flesh, becomes one flesh with us, in an eternal marriage whose natural consequence is the divine possession of every fiber of our being through the resurrection. Knowing that our flesh was also included in the covenant that God made with man, this is the heart of faith, what distinguishes a religious society from an unbelieving society. Only the resurrection of the flesh guarantees a person's survival beyond death, and this extraterrestrial survival implies that we will continue to be what we are now, under another form of life, infinitely fuller and higher, in which the soul does not feel imprisoned in the body, and which in the body is not a subject to suffering. Whoever sincerely believes in this does not fear death, nor is he distressed by illness, nor does he give it to discouragement, no matter how much discouragement and illness crush him. If the grain falls into the ground and dies, it bears fruit. Religious societies know that our bodies, crushed by suffering, devastated by death, will one day sprout new life and blossom like roses in the sun of eternity. That is why in religious societies we live humanly, unlike what happens in unbelieving societies, where we can only live as if we were demigods and die as if we were worms.